Hey everyone, it's Jim
and Charles
from Mellow amps, and we're almost done populating the PCB. And before we get going with installing the coupling caps, those are those two monster yellow caps, we should talk a little bit about how it's time to start thinking about what our first track is going to be. And you might say, why would that even matter? Well, this is going to be when you turn on the amp and you get all your voltages cleared, and we'll do an episode on startup testing. That's once we clear that and it's time to play music for the first time, that's going to be the very first track that you'll have ever heard through your new OTL headphone power amp. And that's a unique opportunity to hear the amp exactly as it is, without any previous listening experience, and you can make an assessment for the first 1 to 3 tracks. It'll be a unique experience, and of course it's the birth of a new piece of audio gear that you made yourself. So it's an exciting time. So choose a track that you like, that is audiophile quality, that has very good detail, that will tell you something about the performance of the amp. In the weeks after you finally turn it on, there will be opportunity to do more critical listening, but those first couple of tracks, that's the most exciting time for me anyways. So see what you choose, and when we get closer to startup, we'll share maybe some of the tracks that we've got in mind. We always have more than one. So okay, let's get this thing assembled. Okay, so you need these two 3D printed saddles, and you need 4 of the flathead M3x8 machine screws, and the PCB is pre-threaded. So there's nothing to this. We're just going to mount them up. Now it's just threading in a fiberglass board, so you can't over torque these things. So notice how I'm not actually using a screwdriver, I'm just using the bit. So just get them on loose until you get them all on. In fact, Charles is going to grab me a build stand.
Yep, let's put that on the end over here.
There we go. So just line it up a little bit if it's not quite straight, and just snug it down like this. If your hands aren't as strong as mine, you can go ahead and load it into a driver and just give it a very gentle snug.
That's it.
That's it. That was like a quarter turn from already tight. Otherwise you'll strip out. Okay, so go ahead and get the other one on, and we'll see you back. Okay, so go ahead and grab your 2 large yellow coupling caps. This is an MKTA type, and that just means it's a metallized polypropylene cap. There's lots of different types of them, but they're all essentially the same technology. You might notice that I've matched them for you. They don't have to be precisely 100 microfarad. So long as they're close and they're matched, they'll be just fine. And you might also notice that we're using 100 volt DC, even though the circuit itself, I think, has something like 27 volts DC on it. And the reason for that is because we're coupling with the headphones a DC voltage, we want to make sure we have lots and lots of room so that there's no hazard that the cap could fail. Because normally on startup, the voltages are a little bit high. So it's good to have a little bit of extra room. And there's no such thing as an infinite number of cap values. So 100 volts is a common value, but the next one down is probably 50, and even that would probably be okay.
And I think we want to turn it around here. So if we're going to line up our labels to match everything else facing this direction, you're going to want it facing up like that.
Okay, and we want to be on a fairly tight bend. So we're going to come in right close to the end here. We don't want to cut it too close. So I'm going to use my little tool to help with the bend so that I can get that bend in place. And we're going to just drop it right on there. And now we're going to go and grab a zip tie. And we're going to get that zip tie on loosely. We're not going to snap it tight yet, but enough to hold it in place. And I like to do them this way, but it really doesn't matter. But just get it in there so that you can move the cap around a little bit if you need to later on when we're fitting it. And that looks good. And let's get that stand back in place. Okay.
So we're up here.
Now the other connection we're going to do when we start assembling things, and we will have to shape that lead off of the cap to fit the 1/4-inch headphone jack.
Yeah, until we get to that point, try not to bend around this lead too much. Just keep it out of the way and try not to wreck it, basically.
Now we were at 370C, and we are 370C is about 690 Fahrenheit, and there's actually quite a bit of lead size, so I'm going to bring it up to 375. I'm going to put a little bit more flux. I'm going to clean my tip, and we're going to see if that'll flow a little bit better. Perfect. And hold for a second, and we're off. And let's just take a quick look at the other side. We're actually using some reject stands that were a little loose, so they fall off. The customers always get the best stuff. That's just the way it is. Let me see if I can get that so you can see it. There it is. So
not quite. Here, I'm going to tilt it up while you touch it up here. There we go.
I'm just going to touch it up.
Even though we're strapping this down, this is a very large and heavy component on the board, so you want to make sure you have a solid flow through on both sides.
Okay, excellent. So the other cap goes on exactly the same way, and I'll see you back in a minute or two. Okay, so I've got the other cap on, and I'm just about ready to solder, but I wanted to make sure to show you that the cap is actually off-centered in its saddle. It's moved back this way, and that will just give us enough room when we go to solder this lead on. So that's the way it should look. Now if you're a little bit off, you should be able to move the cap around a little bit. Okay, I'll see you back in a second. Okay, so that's the pair of them installed, at least on this end of the lead. And we're going to leave these slightly loose, just like they are now, until we get the 1/4-inch jack connected all up, and that's going to be another episode. Okay, well done everyone.